Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. Working on all fours, installing 4x4 ceramic tiles in a 10x12 kitchen was hard work. Wade Brennan carefully applied adhesive to the next tile, then aligned it with the previous one. The tile settled into place just as it should, and he nodded with satisfaction. A deviation of a couple millimeters here, a couple millimeters there, could lead to the failure of the entire project. And because Kowalski Home Improvement had a 100% satisfaction guaranteed policy, Wade made sure every tile was installed exactly right before moving forward. As if sensing that he had reached the end of the row, his wife Marla called the company number on Wade's phone. Wade answered the call. "Wade, it's me," Marla said irritably. "Uh-huh," Wade replied, already reaching for the box of tiles to start the next row. There was a time when Wade would answer the phone and his wife would giggle and say, "Hello, honey." Wade couldn't remember the last time she'd said that. "When are you gonna be done?" Marla snapped. "I'm in the Henderson kitchen," Wade replied, looking at the nearly 8 feet he had finished. This'll take me about 3 hours, give or take, I think." "Okay," Marla snapped and ended the call. Wade wanted to hurry up. He had a strong desire to cut this work short, but he forced himself to move slowly and methodically. Even as his hands did their work, though, his mind thought of his wife, with whom he had lived for 21, almost 22 years. Wade met Marla Kowalski on his second day of work at Kowalski Home Improvement. Marla walked into Frank Kowalski's office, with apologies for her poor performance at Lincoln High School tumbling from her lips. She was a heavy-set brunette with long, wavy hair and patches of severe acne. Wade glanced at her denim cut-off shorts, then returned his attention to the selection of hand tools in Frank's workshop. "That's my daughter," Frank growled at Wade. "Understood, sir." "My daughter." "Yes, sir," Wade said, fighting the urge to shrug indifferently. Somehow sensing that her father did not want her to interact with his new employee, Marla made it a habit to smile flirtatiously and say hello to Wade whenever their paths crossed. For his part, Wade was always polite to the girl but did not encourage her attention. "What did I tell you, huh?" Frank growled at Wade one afternoon. "No need to chase after my daughter." "Okay, sir." "I'm not chasing your daughter," Wade said honestly. The truth was that 21-year-old Wade found 17-year-old Marla Kowalski nothing more than a nuisance. She was at least 50 pounds overweight, had terrible acne, and there was something particularly off-putting about her manner. Wade also found Marla to be quite immature. "Hey, Wade," Marla said coyly one day as Wade and another Kowalski employee were unloading their equipment after a long day. "Hey," Wade said, struggling with an unopened bag of quick-drying cement. "Listen, I turn 18 on Saturday." Marla leaned forward, giving Wade an unobstructed view down the front of her blouse. "That's nice," Wade said. "Well, happy birthday." Another employee smirked. "So, Wade, what are you getting me for my birthday?" Marla asked. Close your eyes," Wade suggested, managing to drag his bag to the back door of the pickup. "Okay," Marla giggled. "What do you see?" Wade asked, tossing his bag into the truck bed. Nothing," said Marla. "That's my gift." "Happy birthday," Wade said, and dragged the bag of cement toward the storage barn. But Barbara Kowalski forced Frank to invite Wade Brennan to their home for Marla's birthday party. A pharmacy in Youngstown sold Wade a nice birthday card, and a pawn shop in Akron sold Wade a silver bracelet for $20. Barbara forced Frank to ask Wade to escort Marla to the prom. Wade actually accompanied Marla, wincing at the sight of her in a tight, sleeveless dress. However, Wade was very kind. He posed for photos, danced with Marla, then took her home and kissed her goodnight. A few days later, Frank growled at Wade that Marla was heartbroken because Wade hadn't called her. Wade pressed his lips together but still called Marla and asked her out. That date led to another date. On the 5th date, their relationship became intimate. Kelsey Barbara Brennan was born 5 months after their wedding. For the next 10 years, Wade Brennan was given the worst jobs at Kowalski Home Improvement. Wade was certain that, on some of these jobs, Frank Kowalski went out of his way to make sure the company got the contract just so he could turn around and force this backbreaking work on his son-in-law. For the first 16 years of their marriage, Marla Brennan was a good wife. She really made an effort to learn her husband's likes and dislikes. She actually learned how to cook his favorite dishes. She really learned to be quiet on Sundays when the Cleveland Browns were on TV. Marla also managed to lose 30 pounds, then gain them back. Then she would lose 10 to 20 pounds, only to gain it back plus another 30 or 40. Her skin did improve a bit, but she always had acne scars on her cheeks. Cosmetics reduced the severity of the scarring, but it was always visible. When Kelsey went to Roosevelt Elementary School, Marla was hired by the Summit County Public Library. The pay was minimal at best, but the benefits were enormous. Health insurance and dental insurance were well worth the low salary. Then, just after they celebrated their 16th year of marriage, Marla's cousin Brenda moved back to Youngstown. God knows where Brenda was dragging husband number 3 or 4 along with her. Brenda was loud, brash, and crude, and Dale, her husband, wasn't much better. To make matters worse, Dale was a Dallas Cowboys fan. Brenda was not a good influence on her cousin. Marla became loud, brash, and complaining. She began to neglect household responsibilities, including cooking. Wade didn't mind. He was a good cook. He was no stranger to cleaning a pan or two. But the occasional slack suddenly became almost every evening, when Marla, Brenda, and Dale found something to do outside the Brennan house. Kelsey also learned to clean, cook, and sew buttons on her school uniform. But somehow it seemed that Kelsey was resentful of her father rather than her mother for her mother's neglectful behavior. Wade timed his work almost perfectly. 3 hours after Marla's phone call, he finished the threshold at the entrance from the kitchen to the living room. He slowly stood up and straightened his back with difficulty. Good God, I'm getting too old for this, Wade thought as he collected his tools and the few remaining tiles. After leaving the Henderson house, Wade called Frank Kowalski. He still winced whenever he heard the man's slurred speech. The stroke nearly killed the large man, and his recovery was slow. Frank suffered a massive stroke minutes after his wife Barbara revealed she had breast cancer. Thus, even after a double mastectomy and undergoing radiation, Barbara was burdened with caring for her husband. Michael Kowalski, David Kowalski, and Stephen Kowalski did everything they could to help. Wade also helped care for Frank when needed. Marla, the only girl in the family, was her mother's constant companion. It was Marla who drove her mother to the Cleveland hospital and held her mother's hand as she sobbed weakly in pain. Barbara lost the fight, succumbing to the illness. Frank also seemed to have lost the will to live, but death didn't seem to want to take Frank Kowalski just yet. So day after day, Frank was wheeled into the office on a gurney. Day after day, Frank sat at his desk and cursed his useless left hand as he tried to type on his computer keyboard. Then, at the end of the day, Michael, David, or Stephen would drive Frank home. Yes, sir. I'm leaving the Henderson job now. It's finished, Wade said as Frank grunted, barked, and wheezed into the phone. At home, Wade sniffed the air with pleasure. Pork chops, mashed potatoes, and French-cut green beans were one of his favorite meals. After Frank's debilitating stroke, Marla switched the Brennan family to a heart-healthy diet. The diet helped Marla lose 40 pounds, but she was still quite overweight. Wade had joked that Kelsey left home and went to Ohio State just to avoid the tasteless food Marla fed them, and Kelsey had not denied this. Wade leaned over to kiss his wife as she busied herself at the stove. She waved him off and pinched her nostrils. Tossing his clothes into the hamper, Wade washed the sweat from his stiff, aching body. This work was grueling enough when he was a young man of 21. Now, at 43 years old, it was at the limit of his capabilities and certainly did not add to his health. But Michael, David, and Stephen were not going to pay attention to this. And with the mounting medical bills associated with Frank Kowalski's rehabilitation, Michael, David, and Stephen said there was no money in the budget to hire anyone to help. Drying himself with a towel, Wade ignored the still-fit man in the foggy mirror. Wade put on a t-shirt and shorts, then came downstairs just as Marla was placing his plate in front of his chair. And for dessert, there's hot apple pie, Marla announced, placing a frosted mug and a can of beer in front of him. "Oh my God," Wade said, even as a lump of unease formed in his stomach. Wade remembered the last time Marla poured him a glass of frosted beer. At that time, he had been smiling, enjoying the refreshing drink. It was on her 35th birthday, a few months before their 17th anniversary. Marla had poured Wade a beer in a frosted mug while he relaxed after a long day. Wade took a sip of the ice-cold drink, enjoying the taste. Then Marla said, "Darling, there's something I need to talk to you about." Many words followed about nothing, as Wade continued to look at his wife without saying a word. Finally, Wade said, "Of course. I wish you'd just get to the point. This beer's almost gone." Marla glared at Wade, then said that Brenda and Dale weren't exclusive. They had an open marriage. Marla then asked Wade if he had ever thought about being with other women. "Certainly. I'm a man. Of course I was looking at that girl Shelley at the gas station," Wade admitted. "Shelley at the gas station?" "Yeah, exactly. As if you'd ever have a chance with her," Marla snorted. "But I'm married," Wade continued. "So yeah, I think about it. And then it all stops right there." "But did you think it wouldn't stop right there?" Marla continued. "Did you assume that you could go ahead and do what you wanted? You could do this and then go home without thinking about the consequences." "But I can't do it, Marla," Wade said. "We're married. We took vows. We took these vows in front of all our family and friends." He drained his mug and rose to his feet. He took the mug to the sink and washed it. "We swore to be faithful to each other. We swore to forsake everyone else, even that girl Shelley at the gas station." "But we could make new vows," Marla suggested. "No new vows," Wade said decisively, putting the washed glass away in the cupboard. "These old vows work just fine. Both Brenda and Dale may be in an open marriage, but we are not. We are not and never will be in an open marriage." "But," Marla started. "No buts. End of discussion," Wade said, leaving the kitchen. Wade hoped that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. Twice more, Marla brought up the idea of an open marriage, and twice more, Wade said no. "But honey," Marla whined, "it would simply be a confirmation of our love for each other. We love each other enough to allow each other to do this because we trust each other." "Holy Mother, do you even hear the complete and utter nonsense you're trying to spew?" Wade said. "No, Marla. If you need me to let you cheat on me like your cousin does to show you that I love you, then I guess I don't love you." The fourth time Marla started talking about opening up their marriage, Wade called her father. Marla sat watching as the cell phone rang. "Hello, Frank. How are you?" Wade said. Marla's face paled as she realized Wade was talking to her father. Wade listened to Frank's grunts and barks for a moment, then said, "Yes, sir. I think you should know what's going on. Here. Marla wants to tell you herself." "Here, Marla. Tell your father what interesting thoughts Brenda fed you," Wade said. Marla took the cell phone from Wade's outstretched hand. She then tried to get up from the kitchen table. Wade had anticipated this move and held Marla in place with a heavy hand. Trapped, Marla talked about complete nonsense and finally ended the conversation. "You son of a..." Marla growled at Wade with hatred. "Listen, Marla, and listen carefully," Wade hissed. "Bring up this nonsense about an open marriage one more time, and you'll have no marriage to open. We will just get divorced." Marla didn't bring up the topic again. Wade was relieved, and his persistence also seemed to cool Brenda and Dale's attempts to communicate with Wade. The toxic twins, as Wade dubbed them, stopped appearing in the house as often. Now, 5 years later, Wade watched his wife pour him a glass of beer. He watched as the foam almost reached the top of the mug. Marla wasn't very good at pouring beer. "You know, I turn 40 next Tuesday," Marla began as Wade chewed his first bite of pork chop. "Yes," Wade said, swallowing. "And I was a virgin when we met," Marla continued. "I'm not sure how those two facts fit together, but okay. You're turning 40, and you were a virgin," Wade said, taking a second bite of his pork chop. "I mean 40. The big 40, Marla said. "And during all this time, I've only had one man. Luckily for you, that man was me," Wade said. Did you use bonds on these green beans? But you had what, at least 10 women? Marla asked. I mean, is that fair? Life isn't always fair, Wade said, sipping his beer. So I was thinking, since my birthday is coming up, I mean the big 40, and after taking care of you and Kelsey and my mom and dad all this time, I deserve to, let my hair down a little. Take a walk on the wild side. So Brenda and I are going to Las Vegas next week. She got us a great deal for a week at one of the casinos, Marla said. Wade continued to eat. He swallowed his bite, then washed it down with another sip of beer. And while we're there, we could, meet a couple of guys, Marla insisted. I mean, not necessarily for the night, but just for a date. Just for a date. Just let me experience what another man is like. Make me appreciate what I have at home even more. The sauce is almost perfect, Wade said. So what do you think? Marla asked. I told you. The sauce is almost perfect, Wade said. No, Wade. This is for me, I want to spread my wings. Gain experience. Marla snapped. You mean cheat on me, Wade said. Listen, I've already decided everything, Marla snapped. So you can either let me do this or get a divorce. Okay, I'll file for divorce, Wade agreed. Do you have any ice cream to go with this pie? Wait, what? Marla asked. You know how expensive divorce is? You can't even talk about it. Marla gasped, stunned. What is there to talk about? Wade said. You just sat right there and told me that you'd already decided everything. You and your shabby cousin are going to Vegas. You're not asking me this. You've already decided that you're going to Vegas. Screw the mountain of bills we have here. You're going to Las Vegas to celebrate the big 40, and while you're there, you might have a date. Even if you are a married woman, you can have a date. Then you're telling me I can either go along with this plan of yours or get a divorce. Wade pushed his empty plate away. This pie. Does it come with any ice cream? But it's only for 1 week, Marla said. 1 week, 1 day, 1 minute. It doesn't matter, Wade said, cutting himself a piece of pie. Cheating is cheating, and I refuse to be married to a cheater. So, no ice cream. You can take Brenda, Marla suggested. Oh God, no, Wade laughed. Dear God, Marla. I wouldn't spend a night with Brenda if she were the last woman on earth. Wade blew on a piece of pie, then popped it into his mouth. He screwed up his face in disgust. Oh great, just wonderful. You used that aspartame crap, didn't you? Wade asked, pushing his plate away. Wade rose to his feet, wiping his mouth with a napkin, and walked out of the kitchen. Don't worry. Tomorrow I'll meet with a lawyer and start this divorce, Wade said, heading up the stairs. The Henderson job was completed, and Michael had no plans to do anything else until he received permission to begin rebuilding the federal savings and loan. Wade, Marla exclaimed. You don't even listen to me. Of course, Wade shouted, walking down the stairs. You didn't listen to me. I told you what would happen if you brought this up again. We'll get divorced. Well, you brought it up again, so we're getting a divorce. In the third bedroom, which they designated as a home office, Wade turned on the computer. It was 7 years old, outdated, but still working and connected to the internet. Typing a query into a search engine, Wade began searching for lawyers. He saw that Helen Carey had an online form, and he filled it out. A moment later, a call alerted him that he had an appointment with Helen Carey at 10 o'clock the next morning. After tidying up the kitchen, Marla went upstairs. She undressed and climbed into bed. Wade was almost surprised when Marla pressed her body against him. No thanks, Wade said and rolled away from Marla. Good night. Wade woke at the usual time, 5:30 in the morning. He didn't have to go to work, but he still woke at his usual time. He quickly slipped out of bed and closed their bedroom door. He went downstairs and made coffee, then used his cell phone to check his email. Helen Carey's office had sent him an email outlining what he needed to bring to the meeting. At 7, Wade was arguing with himself about whether to drink a second cup of coffee. He heard Marla stomping around upstairs and decided to do nothing for her. If she wanted a cup, she could make her own coffee. No, I told him. Give it to me. Marla was talking on her cell phone as she walked down the stairs. She screamed when she saw Wade sitting at the table, calmly reading the news on his cell phone. She interrupted the phone conversation and put the cell phone in her robe pocket. "Wade, what are you doing here?" Marla asked. "I told you. Michael hasn't gotten permission to start rebuilding the federal savings and loan yet, so I have nothing to do today," Wade shrugged. "Right now, the grass is too wet to cut, so I'm reading today's news. Did you know that Brenner and Sons is thinking about opening a second store? This one will be right there on Market Street." "You could have left me some coffee," Marla snapped. "Ask Brenda to make you something," Wade said, putting his cup in the sink. Helen Carey was an attractive brunette. Wade suspected that her glasses were only there to make her look smarter and more serious. Helen said, looking at their financial statements. "Did you just refinance your home at 3.9%? My daughter's in her last year," Wade said. "And my father-in-law had a ton of medical bills, and my mother-in-law's medical bills were minimally covered. They both had deductibles that were just unrealistic. Then funeral expenses. Then Kowalski was on the verge of bankruptcy. A couple of jobs went over budget because Stephen didn't seem to remember to time the orders correctly." "Yeah," Helen agreed, continuing to read. "So, Mr. Brennan, when you divorce your employer's daughter, how will that affect your job?" "I think I'll end things with him," Wade said, and a smile touched his lips. "But Mrs. Brennan's job at the Summit County Public Library shouldn't be affected." Helen mused as she continued to read through the documents. As of Friday, Michael still had not received approval to begin renovating the federal savings and loan. So Wade was at home finishing up some renovations at the Brennan house when Marla called. "What is it? What kind of scam?" Marla screamed as Wade answered. "Oh good, you have the documents," Wade said. "So what's wrong with the bathroom on the first floor? You said something needs to be fixed, but I'll be damned if I can tell you what's wrong." "The lock is jamming," Marla said. "You and me will have to talk when I get home." "No, we've already talked," Wade said. "Talking doesn't seem to do any good as long as you want to listen to Brenda and not your husband. So no, the time for talking is over." "Yes, I see what the matter is. Okay, I understand. Bye." "But I don't want a divorce," Marla whined. "And I don't want to be married to a cheater," Wade said. "Anything else?" "No." "Goodbye then." Wade ignored Marla's next call. When Frank's phone number came up, Wade put down the screwdriver and picked up the phone. "Hello," Wade said. Frank barked, grunted, and groaned. Wade was truly amazed at how many curse words he could understand when his father-in-law demanded to know what was going on between Wade and Marla. "Quite simple, actually, sir," Wade said. "Brenda and her husband seem to have an open marriage, and they convinced Marla that she should have an open marriage too. You know, where they can run around and be intimate with whoever they want and somehow still stay married. Well, I told Marla that I had no desire to have an open marriage." Frank grunted, squeaked, and mumbled his way through another outburst of anger. Wade shook his head as if Frank could see the gesture. "Well, last night, your daughter said I could either go along with it or get a divorce. So I'm getting a divorce," Wade said. Frank tried to argue with Wade again. The man even resorted to emotional blackmail. "Well, sir, I appreciate it, I really do," Wade lied. "But you have 3 sons and a daughter. You really should leave this matter to them, sir, and not to me. Plus, why the hell would I want a company that's been in the red for the last 3 years?" Wade said to himself. Marla brought reinforcements with her when she returned home. Wade saw this coming and sat quietly while Brenda and Dale made their point. "So you see, Wade," Dale said with a smug look on his face, "since our marriage isn't threatened by other relationships, Brenda is free to have friendships outside of marriage. Hey, I mean, as long as I know she'll come home to me, you know?" Dale continued. "And of course, I share all my experiences with her. There are no secrets between us. It's really opened our hearts, our lives to each other," Brenda added. "Oh, well, that certainly clears things up," Wade said. Marla, Brenda, and Dale all smiled, thinking they'd convinced him. "No," Wade said, standing up from the couch. "What?" Marla said. "No," Wade repeated. But hey, Marla, after we get divorced, you can open your heart, your life, and the doors to your inner world to anyone you want. Oh, what do I see? Dale grinned. So just because you feel inadequate, Marla should close the door on her own capabilities and needs? Wade flashed a smile that showed all his teeth. He walked to the living room door and turned toward the stairs. If you need to think that way to feel better, by all means keep thinking that way, Wade said and left the room. That night, Marla tried to approach him again. Wade turned away. Go to sleep, Marla, he said. Tomorrow's a busy day for you, isn't it? As usual, Wade woke at 5:30 in the morning and got out of bed. He no longer bothered to close their bedroom door, not caring whether his early rising would wake his wife or not. Going downstairs, he made himself coffee and sat sipping it while reading the news on his phone. The national news made him snort in disgust. At 11 in the morning, Dale knocked on the door. Wade opened it, and Dale tried to enter the house. Wade's heavy hand stopped his advance. Yes, Wade asked. Hey, I'm here to pick up Marla and take her to the airport, Dale said, trying to push past Wade again. I'll let her know you're here, Wade said, and pushed Dale back. He then closed the door and went back to watching his recorded sitcom. A few moments later, Marla thundered down the stairs, dragging her suitcase. Why didn't you let me know that Dale and Brenda were waiting for me outside? She demanded. Oh yeah, Dale and Brenda are here, Wade said, turning his attention back to his program. God, really? Do you have to be so childish about all this? Marla said shrilly. She set down her suitcase and leaned toward Wade. He pulled away from her, so she ended up kissing empty air. We'll talk about this when I get back, Marla said. No, we won't, Wade said. We really won't do that. After his sitcom and a hearty meal, Wade completed the last of his chores by painting the front door of the house. He chose pale yellow, and the color contrasted nicely with the red brick facade of the house. He grinned when their cat, Samson, meowed in annoyance from the garage. The animal had food, water, and a clean litter tray in the garage, so he had nothing to complain about. As soon as the door is dry, buddy, I'll let you out of there, Wade promised the beast. Back upstairs, Wade logged in and canceled their joint credit cards. He didn't know about any credit cards his wife had in her name and had no desire to look, but he had no intention of funding his wife's infidelity or her cousin's extravagance. He logged into Marla's personal bank account and withdrew half of the balance. He also went into their joint account, of which he was the only contributor, and withdrew half. The bank's website helped him open a new account in his name only, and he transferred the money withdrawn from other accounts to his new account. Online accounts made it easy to remove his name from utilities and cable TV. He shrugged when the Summit County Power and Light Company sent him an email informing him that his cancellation order would not take effect until the end of the billing cycle. I don't care, Wade said to the computer screen. Let's see. Let's go to Slo's Pizza, Wade said to himself as his stomach growled. Of course, since Marla wouldn't let me eat there. Hell, I guess I'll probably drop dead of a heart attack right there. Let's check. Wade ordered pizza and a glass of draft beer. He actually flirted with the waitress, even though the girl was almost 75 pounds overweight. The young woman smiled and tapped his wedding ring with her 3-inch fingernail. Wade looked at the ring, and his good mood evaporated. He thanked the woman and left her a $5 tip. In his truck, Wade tugged at the ring for a long time and sighed with relief when it finally came off. He tossed it into the cup holder on the console and looked at his hand. I'll love you forever, right, Marla? Wade asked out loud. Well, I guess forever ended this morning. His truck made a soft squeaking sound, and Wade saw that his gas tank was almost empty. He stopped at a gas station and stuck the nozzle in the tank. He was about to fill up with $10, but then he decided to fill the tank completely. He pressed the right buttons and waited. Damn, 22 gallons takes a while, huh? Wade asked the pump, which kept gurgling and gurgling. He went to the nearby convenience store and found Budweiser beer. As Wade walked past another row of refrigerators, he saw containers of ice cream. He grabbed a pint of strawberry ice cream and carried both to the counter. Shelley no longer worked at the gas station. She'd gotten married, breaking Wade's heart and the hearts of many other men who stopped at that particular gas station just because of the blonde beauty standing behind the counter. But Shannon Carlisle, the short brunette who now worked there, was almost as pretty as Shelley. Wade smiled as Shannon jumped onto the milk crate she had placed in front of the cash register. One day he'd asked her how tall she was, and Shannon had looked at him intently. "I'm 4'8" tall," snapped the 19-year-old girl. "How short are you?" "I'm about 7 inches, Wade joked. Shannon's brown eyes opened wide. Then the girl laughed, a deep, lively laugh that made her pretty face light up. "Has your wife left town, Shorty?" Shannon concluded, looking at the purchases. "My wife left completely. Period," Wade said. Shannon's dark brown eyes flickered to Wade's left hand. Her eyes flickered up and met Wade's. She studied his face for a few moments. "So, baby, where are you taking me on our first date?" she asked brazenly, combing her thick brown hair back with her hand. "Shannon, as pretty as you are, what on earth do you want with an old fart like me?" Wade asked. That's about 7 inches, Shannon said, and put Wade's purchases in the bag. Marla's 40th birthday was Tuesday. On Wednesday, Kelsey, Wade, and Marla's daughter called Wade on his cell phone. "Kowalski Home Improvement," Wade answered. "Dad, it was Mom's birthday yesterday," Kelsey said. Wade said, scratching his 3-day stubble. "Why didn't you call her?" Kelsey squealed. "I didn't want to," Wade said. "I didn't want to? Dad, I guess you'll find out soon enough," Wade said. "Your mother has decided that since she is now 40, she should go out and be intimate with other men." "And what?" Kelsey asked. "And what? Jesus Christ, what do they teach you at that school?" Wade asked. "She is married. And married women don't spend the night with men they're not married to." "Oh my God. This is so old-fashioned," Kelsey chuckled. "Goodbye, Kelsey," Wade said, ending the conversation. 10 minutes later, his cell phone rang again. Even though he saw it was Marla's cell phone, Wade answered the call. "Kowalski Home Improvement," Wade said automatically. "Hi, Wade," Marla said in a firm voice. "Hello. How do you like being a 40-year-old? Wade asked. "It's not funny," Marla snapped. "Well, I don't think it's funny either," Wade agreed. "Oh, and thank you so much for canceling the credit cards," Marla continued. "You're welcome," Wade said. "Anything else?" "My birthday was yesterday, Wade," Marla said. "Why didn't you call?" "I didn't want to. But hey, maybe whoever you're having fun with will want to wish you a happy birthday." "Huh?" Wade asked. "Oh my God. Grow up, Wade," Marla snapped. "Grow up already?" "Marla, what about adults? They fulfill their obligations. They respect their vows," Wade said. "So, Melissa Sissick who?" Marla asked. "Melissa Sissick. Her name used to be Melissa Stoddard. Do you remember her? The pretty little blonde who went to school with Kelsey. She married Lucas Sissick, the bank manager. Be that as it may, she now works at Gold Standard Real Estate, and I've got this cute little redhead, dear God. She's as cute as a pin, I tell you. But anyway, the good news is that she thinks she can find us a buyer for our house real quick," Wade said. "Buyer? Wade, we're not selling the house," Marla shouted into the phone. "Oh, do you really think you can afford to buy me out? Remember, we need to pay off the second mortgage, and that's what Melissa told me. She can find us a buyer, but we'll probably have to bring cash to the table to pay off that mortgage," Wade said. "We're not selling the house," Marla shouted again. "And I put all your furniture in Easy Warehouse on Independence Road, right next to the Chevrolet place," Wade continued. "Block number 212. Your father has the key." "Oh God, Brenda, I need to go home," Wade heard Marla make a sound. "But your father couldn't pick up Samson, so I took him to Michael," Wade continued. "Michael? Wade, my God, Michael has those Dobermans," Marla screamed in horror. "Oh damn, that's right. I didn't think about that," Wade grinned. "No wonder he said he'd be happy to adopt that cat." "Well," Wade hung up, ignoring his wife's cries and pleas. Leaving the phone on the kitchen table, he went upstairs and accessed the internet. He heard his cell phone ring but ignored it. And maybe your mom's new boyfriend can pay for your last year of school. Young lady? Wade muttered. Hey, why don't you see if you have a scholarship there for students who have a GPA of 2.1? Because after all, with that kind of attitude, it's hard to expect your father to pay for your education. Wade snapped. Turning off the computer, Wade went into the bathroom and soaked his face. Scraping off 3 days of stubble was hard and painful work, but he managed to do it without cutting himself. He took a hot shower, dried himself off, and put on jeans and a t-shirt. Wade carried the computer down to his pickup truck and placed it in the cab behind the passenger seat. His last act was to throw his cell phone in the trash. Wade then rolled the trash can to the curb. I'll miss you, said Herman Vogel, a neighbor across the street, when he met Wade on the side of the road. Vogel, there's no way in hell you will, Wade laughed, shaking the man's hand. The only time we said more than 2 words to each other was when you complained about Kelsey's boyfriends playing their music too loud. And do you know how hard it is to get your neighbors to leave you alone? Damn it, said Herman. You were the perfect neighbor. Never borrowed my tools, never expected me to feed your cat, never asked me to pick up your mail or newspapers when you went on vacation. I bet the next group will be at my house all the time. Sir, you're right for being so warm and friendly, Wade said. Ah, the trash can is ringing, Herman said, nodding his head toward the trash can. Ah, mind your own business. It's some kind of rat. Wade smiled, and the 2 men shook hands again. Marla tried to open the front door with her key and found that the key did not fit. She took her phone out of her purse and tried to call the phone number for the Gold Standard Real Estate Agency listed on the sign. She stared at it in disbelief. Her phone was fully charged, but apparently there was something wrong with her phone. Brenda allowed Marla to use her cell phone while Dale walked around the house, checking the windows and doors. Marla muttered obscenities under her breath when the call was answered. Gold Standard Real Estate, this is Melissa Sissick, Melissa said cheerfully. Ah, yes, this is Marla Brennan, Marla snapped. I'm standing in front of my house, and my key doesn't work. Brennan? Wade Brennan's ex-wife, Melissa said cheerfully. Wife, Marla snapped. Oh, I'm so glad to hear from you. I need you to sign some forms, Melissa said cheerfully. Oh, and you won't believe this, but I have a couple of clients. They are truly interested in your home. The house is not for sale, Marla shouted into the phone. Oh, so are you going to buy Mr. Brennan out? Melissa asked. I know the Richmonds will be very disappointed to hear this. Well, they also liked the Pearl House. Dale returned and reported that the house was tightly sealed. Marla again told Melissa that the house was not for sale. She then dialed Wade's cell phone number. Marla growled as Wade's voice announced that she had called Kowalski Home Improvement. Come on, is there somewhere we can drop you off? Asked Dale, who was already bored with this drama. My cat, Marla remembered, squeezing herself into the car again. Yeah, Michael, it's me, Marla said. Wade said he gave Samson to you? Marla asked. What, are you crazy? With Poppy and Olive and Blue here, they would tear that useless cat to pieces. Michael snapped angrily. No, Dad has it and you need to get him quickly. Dad's physical therapist is allergic to cats, Marla said, relieved. Oh, thank God, Marla sighed. And, thank you very much, Michael, Marla continued. For what? For the disappearance of Wade? Now we're almost out of business. I got approved for federal savings and loan, but then I had to turn around and let Frontier take it because none of us know how to lay ceramic tile. Aha, Marla said, and interrupted the conversation. Hey, how many people are you going to call? Brenda snapped as Marla began dialing her father's phone number. Don't you have unlimited? Oh no, that's not true, Brenda said. I have 1,000 minutes a month, and I know that Mr. Genius over there spent them all on his fantasy football nonsense. Last call, I promise, Marla said. Frank ranted, raved, and hurled obscenities at his daughter. Reluctantly, however, he agreed that she could come to his home. Dale drove to Frank Kowalski's house and took Marla's suitcase out of the trunk. Brenda and Marla hugged. Then Marla wheeled her suitcase toward the door. So, how was it? Dale asked Brenda as she climbed into the front seat of the car. God, what a disaster, Brenda sighed. I mean, look at her. Okay, do you think anyone would want to be intimate with her? Now, when you're sitting next to her. Dale agreed as they watched Marla enter her father's house. But did you get any money from her? Almost, Brenda sighed as Dale backed out of the long driveway. Wade, God, I hate this. Hold on, my back. Can you hear me? He canceled all her credit cards, and she had to use her debit card. But there are ATMs everywhere, Dale reminded her. Crap, I've got about $10. We need gasoline. Yeah, there are ATMs everywhere, and she's on the internet. You can do that when your thick-headed hubby isn't wasting your minutes on fantasy football, Brenda snapped. Yes, here's 20. Yeah, that means she went online. What does this have to do with ATMs? Dale asked as he pulled into the gas station. She saw that Wade took half of her account, Brenda said. Just get 10. Okay? We still need to pay the electricity bill. Unless you've already paid for it? Dale nodded and walked into the attached convenience store. Brenda watched as Dale turned to the beer cooler and quickly grabbed a can. Dale frowned at her through the plate glass of the store window but turned back to the counter. I was just going to buy one can. Dale lied as he returned to the car. Yeah, one, Brenda snapped. When was the last time you bought one can? Oh, hey. Does that little girl work here now? Why does she have such a big chest? She has a small chest. They just look bigger because she's so small, Dale said. Come on, gas up. While Brenda and Dale bickered, Marla listened to her father's angry lecture. Since his stroke, Frank had used quite a lot of profanity in his conversation, and he didn't seem to mind using hateful, hurtful words to describe the people around him. I mean, seriously, when have you looked at yourself in the mirror lately? Frank asked. Fat pig. And that face. Apparently it caught fire and they put it out with an ice pick. Dad? Marla gasped, truly hurt by his words. So you're turning 40. Big deal. Women turn 40 every damn day, Frank growled. But not every one of them turns into a stupid cheater just because she's 40. He pointed to the legal documents on the coffee table. Samson chose this moment to enter the living room. You need to hire a lawyer, and I need to clean that damn cat litter box, Frank snapped. Jesus Christ, I don't know what the hell that animal eats, but damn it, it stinks. Frank turned sharply and pushed himself away. The left corner of his mouth was slightly open, and he was drooling. You're in your old room, Frank snapped. Damn it, I hope it was worth it. Can you hear? I hope, damn it, it was worth it. 40 years, and still a damn fool. That night, lying in her old bed and looking at the wallpaper she and her mother had chosen when she was 8, Marla sighed. Samson didn't move when Marla turned off the light and stared at the dark ceiling. The week marking her 40th birthday had started off so promisingly. The plane ride was smooth and easy. Marla looked out the window as the glittering city of Las Vegas appeared below them. Excited, Marla and Brenda checked into their hotel room. They then rushed downstairs and spent a few dollars at the roulette table before deciding to have dinner. Marla was insulted when a handsome waiter told her that her credit card had been declined. The second credit card was also declined, and the manager brought the third card to the table with a hard look on his face. Marla took out her debit card and prayed that it would work. Luckily, this happened, and the manager brought her the card and her receipts. Returning to the room, Marla checked her bank account and found that it had been reduced by 50%. Both Marla and Brenda cursed Wade Brennan. They both agreed that this man had gone too far, really too far. Come on, girl, Brenda encouraged. We're in Vegas. Vegas. We can't let this jerk ruin our good time, right? But watching Brenda lose $300 at the blackjack table dampened the evening's celebratory mood a little. It was Marla's $300. Marla actually managed to pick up a handsome young man at a bar. 25-year-old David Demetrius went with Marla to her room. That was all that happened. Marla then saw David trying to steal her wallet from her purse. Brenda complained that she was limited to $100 a day. Lady Luck and Brenda did not meet during this trip to Vegas. The $100 seemed to disappear from Brenda's hand the moment she left their hotel room. On Tuesday evening, The night of her birthday, Marla tried again to pick up a handsome young man. The young man grinned, then leaned close. Marla leaned closer, giggling in anticipation. "Lady, if I wanted to be intimate with some 300-pound woman, I'd be home with my wife," he said. "But, I heard that there's a convention of the blind 2 hotels away from here. Why don't you try your luck there, you fat cow?" Suffering from the hurtful rejection, Marla took the elevator to their room. She groaned when she saw the "Do Not Disturb" sign around the doorknob. Marla then went down to the coffee shop in the lobby and drank a cup of coffee for a couple of hours. Finally, Marla sent Brenda a message telling her she was coming back to the room. Returning to her room, Marla was relieved to see that the sign was gone and entered the room. After a hot shower, pulling her nightgown over her body, Marla lay in the large, comfortable hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. Then she realized that Wade hadn't called her. Her husband hadn't called to wish her a happy birthday. Kelsey didn't call either, but the girl sent her a text message wishing her a happy birthday. A check of her cell phone actually made it clear to Marla that her husband hadn't even bothered to send her a text message. However, Marla smiled in response to Michael, David, and Steven's birthday wishes. In the morning, Brenda complained bitterly about the budget Marla had limited them to. Brenda even indicated that she was the one who paid for the flight and hotel. By Saturday morning, Marla was seriously considering telling her cousin that it was all over between them. Blood relatives or not, Marla had more than enough of Brenda's constant complaints. But Brenda had their airline tickets in her purse, so Marla remained silent. Now, lying in her old bed in her old room, Marla sighed heavily. Her big 4-0 hadn't been much of a celebration. Robert Fisher was the attorney recommended by Donald Pierce, the director of the Summit County Public Library. The man looked through the papers from Helen Carey's office, then looked at his client. His voice sounded very harsh and dry. "He gets half, you get half. The house must be sold, and any profits must be divided in half. Any expenses should also be divided in half. He's not asking for child support, even though he's essentially unemployed right now," Robert said. "But I don't want a divorce," Marla whined. "I don't want to lose my home. I don't want." "Mrs. Brennan, it really doesn't matter," Robert sighed. "This is the terrible truth. One person out of 2 says they want a divorce. Well, guess what? They may get divorced." "Consultation?" Marla asked. "Okay, we can request a consultation," Robert said, and Marla smiled. "I'll call Helen's office." Marla listened to what Robert was saying. She studied the titles of the books in his bookcase, as there seemed to be little more than aha and from Robert. "Okay, Mrs. Brennan, here's the problem," Robert said, placing his cell phone on the table. "I'm paying you, so there won't be any problems," Marla said, clutching her purse tightly. "Miss Carey has no idea where her client is. Your husband came, paid her fee and left," Robert said. "All she has is an email address for him. Does she need it? This is the only way she can contact him. And no, she won't give us the email address. Attorney-client privilege." "Oh," Marla whispered, sinking into a chair. "And Wade told Miss Carey that from now on, your daughter can pay for her own tuition and living expenses in the dorm," Robert continued. "Something about new traditions or something like that. Any idea what he means by this?" "No," Marla whispered, "but I'm willing to bet Kelsey knows." Marla did not celebrate her 41st birthday. She got dressed for another day of work and left her room. Frank didn't look up when his daughter kissed him on the cheek. He simply stared at his hands, clenched lifelessly in his lap. "Do you need anything before I go to work?" Marla asked. "Nope," Frank muttered. "Okay, then I'll leave you and Samson. Behave yourselves. Okay?" Marla said, trying to put as much joy into her voice as possible. "Everything is fine. My 2 best men will behave themselves. Okay? What the hell do you think we're going to do?" Frank spat, but it was mostly just grunts, squeaks, and barks. Marla went to work, the same route she had taken all last year, from her father's house to the library. She heard her cell phone ring but waited until she parked the car before looking at the display. "Happy birthday," Marla read on her mobile phone. Yes, Kelsey, great, Marla muttered. Happy birthday to me. I'm so excited that I'm glowing with happiness. But she sent a reply, thanking Kelsey for the birthday wishes. Marla had managed to lose 25 pounds in the year since her 40th birthday. However, no one noticed this. No one had paid her any attention since Wade left. Less than a week after Wade left, Marla realized Brenda and Dale's open marriage for what it was. Brenda and Dale had an open marriage because they didn't love each other. But neither of them had enough money to free themselves from the other. So they lived as two roommates in a rented trailer rather than as husband and wife. There were no displays of affection between them. Brenda and Dale did not hug. They did not kiss. Marla remembered Wade hugging her and kissing her the night she made him pork chops, mashed potatoes, gravy, and green beans. Wade coming up to her, wanting a hug and a kiss. She had pinched her nostrils. Wade had smelled of sweat, of hard work. After her announcement that she was going to celebrate her 40th birthday in Las Vegas without him, Wade did not hug or kiss her again. The last time Marla saw Wade, she leaned in to kiss him, but he simply avoided her kiss. An hour after reading Kelsey's text message, her phone rang again. Marla read a message from her manager asking her if she was late. Marla got out of the car in a daze and walked toward the back door of the Cinderblock building. Kelsey read a text message from her mother thanking her for her birthday wishes. Kelsey then looked at her cell phone. There was a photo of a little girl with a shock of brown hair looking back at her. Emma Rose Brennan, 6 pounds 4 ounces, 17 inches long, read a text message from her father's phone. Kelsey actually found it rather ironic that her little sister and her mother shared the same birthday, but she didn't think her mother would find any humor in that little fact. Sullivan Flooring, this is Becky McMahon, an attractive brunette said into the phone. Carpets, tiles, hardwoods, and laminate flooring. Hey, Shorty, the girl called. Third line. Excuse me, Wade Brennan said to a young couple who were trying to decide what color hardwood floors they would like for their home. Wade waved to Bobby Estrada to help the young couple while he answered the phone. The young man nodded in agreement and approached the couple. Wade walked over to the wall phone and pressed the flashing extension. His gaze swept across the sales floor as he raised the phone to his ear. Wade was hoping to hear back from Samuel Davis, who was trying to get an exclusive contract to produce all the flooring for a developer's future projects. Shorty is listening, Wade said into the phone. Well, you know what, Mr. Shorty? His wife's voice was heard on the phone. Looks like you and your 7 inches have put another one inside me. Shannon, are you serious? Wade asked, his mouth open in shock. I mean, really? Emma isn't even out of diapers yet, and I'm about to get another one. Shannon giggled happily into the phone. Where are you? Wade asked. I'm just leaving Dr. Patel's office, Shannon said. Well, you need to get that gorgeous backside of yours over here right now, Wade said. We're going to Stone Grill to celebrate. I think all this attention on my backside is why we got into this mess in the first place. Shannon giggled as she pushed Emma's stroller out of the Alliance Square Medical Center and into the brutal Texas sun. The 4'8" woman brushed her long hair out of her eyes, looking around. Always the shortest kid on the block, she'd learned to look around first before she walked. She looked at the scorching sun and smiled. When Wade stopped by the gas station to say goodbye to Shannon Carlisle and said he was leaving, she'd asked him where he was going. Wade looked at her for a long moment, then he shrugged. Why do you want to know this? He asked. So I can tell them where to send my last check, Shannon said, jumping off her milk crate. Are you going somewhere warm? I already have almost all the snow I can handle, you hear? Shannon, what does a gorgeous girl like you want from an old fart like me? Wade asked her. She was about to respond with her usual playful banter. Something about 7 inches, when she looked up at him. She closed her eyes. What color are my eyes? She asked. Brown. Real dark brown, Wade replied. I have a dimple. Which cheek is it on? Shannon asked, opening her eyes. Left cheek. And when you smile, one of your teeth shows. The one on the right is a little crooked, Wade said. And why did you come to tell me bye, baby? Shannon asked, sliding out from behind the counter. Hey, Polly, I'm leaving, she called. I don't know. Wade replied as Polly, clumsily dragging his 312-pound frame, walked out of the warehouse. "Uh-huh." Shannon grinned and grabbed Wade's left hand with her right hand. "Polly, I'm leaving, but you still have 2 hours on your shift," Polly complained. "Cough, cough. I feel sick," Shannon said. "Bye." "Hey, kid, have you ever been to Texas?" Standing in front of the Alliance Square Medical Center, Shannon whispered, "Hey Wade, I love you. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.